All right, so we're back here with JC Polk. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm good. We finally got to do this. I know we have been talking about doing this for a long time because you've got a lot going on and starting up a new fitness page, and so I want to talk about that for a little bit. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it was really something that kind of was spurred from the competition that I did. So I did a competition with two other guys, and it was a 19-week prep, so really rigorous diet and all that. And I wanted to do it as kind of a bucket list thing, just to kind of knock it out, But once I got done, I realized I always knew I had a passion for fitness, but it really just kind of built it up, after I did that. And then I realized that, if I only have one life, I might as well spend it doing what I love.
Right, exactly.
So then I kind of made the connection between doing fitness for like a job, and the result I came to was a fitness influencer. So we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, and especially right now with like the new eras of like TikTok and social media is getting insanely, as a good useful source for getting all that kind of product out. And especially with you, I mean, I was kind of on that like fitness side for a long time. I was following a bunch of guys that were doing all these workout videos and stuff like that. And it's really cool stuff because especially for me, for a guy who takes my health pretty seriously, with all the workouts and stuff I've been doing these past couple months. Because for a guy like me, I'm not really 100% sure about what to do in terms of like diet and stuff. And so it's grateful to have guys like you and other guys who can put out that kind of content to influence and help other people to get that health up.
Yeah, that's kind of why I made it, because I've told people this a bunch because I'll go live, and stuff like that. And the recurring theme that I keep telling people is I want to be the person that I wish I had found when I was 13 or 14, when I was just starting out. Because, I mean, if you're going on the internet and you're looking for, how to do this the best way, you got two people telling you this, you got one person telling you this, and then you got another person over here that says it doesn't even matter. So it's just conflicting views. And then at some point, whenever I was 13 or 14, I just said, screw it. And I just figured it out. And then, almost 9 years later of figuring it out, I'm trying to be that guy that I can give reliable information to the younger guys and to people my age,
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people need nowadays, especially with times of, everything that's been going on with COVID, and a lot of people have been isolated and never really have been taking their health somewhat seriously as they should be. Yeah. And so for you just to be doing that and to put in the content's been getting them. I saw you posted the other day, you got what, 100,000 likes now on?
Yeah. So TikTok, we've been consistent and it's been growing. We're sitting at like 1,800 followers right now. So we're still small, but we're growing. And we hit the 100,000 like count or whatever. And I had a couple videos do pretty well. But yeah, the biggest thing with that has just been consistency, posting 3 times a day. Yeah,
consistency is the key to getting good content out and for getting people to keep coming back to watching it. Yeah. Obviously, I kind of bit the bullet on that a while back because the whole reason why I kind of did the whole rebrand sort of thing was just because consistency is like the most important part. Every other like content creator or influencer that I've talked to, that's like their main thing is keep consistent with content and also just like interacting with your followers as well, just so you can see what they're up to. And so that's kind of how I learned a lot from that. And now I'm kind of putting that into what we're doing right now. And it's fun. I mean, it's, we've been just busy as hell the past couple of weeks, just getting everything ready and reaching out, guests and brands and stuff. So got a lot going on, but it's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad that we got this going for you and I to sit down, because we've been, like I said earlier, we've been talking about it for a while. So in terms of when you did start, because that's kind of a big jump to make. Yeah. And obviously when you go around, posting videos of you, with your shirt off and posting off in the gym, there can be like a little bit of not like fear, but like something in the back of your mind saying, I know somebody's going to say something about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you have dealt with anything like that, and tell me if it's, if it's helped you motivate even more, or what's up with that?
Yeah. So that was definitely a real thing. Because if you take one look at my social media, it's very bare, like it's very open.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing was I just kind of went through a period of kind of self-discovery. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important in being a man, or just figuring out who you want to be.
Yeah.
And part of that self-discovery was, okay, I'm going to do what I love, because if I do what I love, I'm going to work harder at it.
Right.
And if I'm just chasing the money and career or anything else, I'm going to be miserable. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do what I love. And if I'm going to, have the guts to say I'm going to do what I love, then I have to be brave enough to not care what people think.
Exactly.
That was the biggest thing. It was like the only thing that's stopping me is me. Mm-hmm. Because, people are going to say, people are going to look at me, oh, he's pale. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's not as big as this person. They're going to say things regardless.
Right.
So if they're going to say bad things about you regardless, you might as well take the leap of faith and make it worth it.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing with me is if you look on my Instagram, I have pictures of me on stage wearing pretty much a Speedo. Mm-hmm. So there's not much left to
It takes a lot to get up there and do that. I know me for sure. I could not get up on a stage and wear that and do that.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the things I was honestly really worried about that. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, getting on stage and just flexing, because I had never done anything because it looks cool whenever it's Ronnie Coleman or some really big guy. It looks cool, but whenever you're like, oh, that's going to be me, mm-hmm. It's a really weird thing. But honestly, the competing part is not the fun part for me. The fun part was seeing the results over that 19-week prep. And then the show is just, mm-hmm. We made it, just go flex, have fun, It wasn't anything special.
Yeah. So when you were saying earlier how doing what you love is very important.
Right.
And I'm a full-time believer in that. Hence why I'm trying to start this up and get it going. And,
right.
And I think that nowadays, I think a lot of people kind of have not a resentment to kind of do the path that they feel pulled to. Because, not a lot of people do what they actually want to do.
Right.
And the people, sometimes will come home from work and just say oh, I just have the most miserable day and my job sucks. And the thing is that I really thought hard about that, mm-hmm. that sort of aspect. And I was like, I never want to be able to, come home from a day of work and say, God, that really sucked.
Yeah.
And I just, that's why that's so important because, when we're kids, we've always got a bunch of different things that we want to do,
right.
That sound somewhat out of proportion. And when someone would ask me, what's your ideal dream job? I'm like, well, wouldn't necessarily want to call it that, because if there's something that you actually would like to do and do it, and who cares about what kind of money you're making or whatnot?
Right.
Because if you're in a job where, we're young still, we're not even out of college yet, so we don't even know what all that's like. But just from perspective, I know kind of how it works, mm-hmm. and I know that there are people out there who are very disappointed with the way that they're living because they just have these lives and jobs that are they're really unsatisfying.
Right.
They're waking up, going to a job every day that they don't want to be at, getting chewed out by their boss and stuff like that. And that alone can be incredibly defining. I think it kind of really shows you okay, this is definitely not what I'm supposed to do. I know that I am meant to do something else better than that. And I think that is so hugely important to do that and to follow what it is that you really want to do.
Yeah. Like you said, I feel like we're on different paths, but the same road,
mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I look at it, I heard this quote from a friend of mine and it hit me so strongly that I wrote it down. Like I have him quoted in my notes saying this. And we were talking about, we tend to have, he works with me at Smoothie King. And we tend to have like very deep thought, very deep talks, despite the fact that we're making angel foods while we're doing it. You know? But he said to me, and it really struck me, he said, the American dream is providing a better future for your children than you had. And I was like, that's a really powerful thing to say, because lots of times the American dream is all about me. You know, I come here and I'm going to create this. But the American dream is building a foundation for your kids that they can launch from. You know, and I'm with you with the grueling 9 to 5. For me, I had somebody tell me, you know, your job doesn't define you. And I countered his argument and I said, well, okay, let's say you work 40 hours a week, right? And then let's say we have another person who plays tennis from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. Whenever you look at the tennis guy, you would say, that's the tennis dude. He plays tennis 40 hours a week. That is the tennis guy. That's what he does. You know, and then you're going to tell me that you're going to spend all this time at like your job and that doesn't define you. It's going to have a huge impact on you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to like slave away for money and work for something, it might as well be something that you enjoy. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe because then at that point, it's not work.
Yeah.
Like I know you can relate. I was very impressed with all your equipment and how you're setting everything up. I can tell that you put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this. Yeah. But if you're anything like me, it doesn't feel like work.
It's more pleasure than work.
Yeah, it's more just like, I really love doing this and I'm going to make it as good as possible. And like on average, I'm filming like 5 videos a day.
This episode of The Lunch Hour is brought to you by Big O. Big O is the absolute best way to shop vintage clothing. I love vintage clothes. I wear them all the time. As you can tell right now, I'm wearing an old Jackson, Mississippi Cherokee shirt. They've got everything you need, from hats to shirts to even shoes. I have a lot of their stuff myself, and it's really cool. I wear it all the time. Go visit bigo.bet to browse the entire collection, and visit their Instagram, Big O, to be notified when they do their monthly drops. Right now on their Instagram, they are doing a giveaway for 2 really cool vintage shirts and $75 in store credit. Please go visit the Instagram for details. Once again, that's bigo.bet for all the vintage clothes you need. Bam! Back to what we were talking about. It's rolling now. We just got it back up.
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Cool.
If you could remember what you were saying, if you want to continue, you can.
Yeah. Was talking about how me and you are kind of on the same page as far as we're putting a lot of work into something that we really, really love. And like for me, if I were to look at you and I say, man, he's organizing guests, he's looking up topics, he's researching good ideas to talk about, I would look at you and say, man, that's you're spending an ungodly amount of time on that. You know, like how do you do that and still find joy? Yeah. But on the other hand, you look at me and you say, man, you're sitting there filming yourself bench press for 3 hours in a row. Yeah. How is that possibly enjoyable? But on the individual level, we're doing what we love, so we work harder at it. Yeah. And I think that's the key to becoming successful and finding, true happiness in life. You find what you're good at and you find what you love, and then you craft it into like an impeccable skill and you just roll with it. Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of aspects and certain things that when you look at and you're like, they spend an ungodly amount of time on doing what they're doing, and how can they possibly be enjoying that? Right. Like when you are, like you said, you're videoing, like I know I hop on your live sometimes and you're like, just meal prepping, and people get on and like, and that's just crazy to think how people will just hop on and listen and just watch somebody eat or something like that. So
something so not important at all.
And it's just like a lot of that stuff, that's just great stuff. And with people, when they talk about, like the amount of hours that they put into, putting out the content and stuff, until I started doing it myself, it is like, it takes up a lot of time. It's very time consuming. And when you're doing it, you also want to make sure that you are doing it like the very best you can and doing it the best possible way.
Yeah. Because one of the things I discovered, kind of to piggyback off that, like I realized how much time, but one thing I also did not expect was I expected me to get faster. Mm-hmm. You know, I expected, I'm going to get better at it, so I'll be able to film and produce faster. But actually the opposite happened. Mm-hmm. Because yes, I got better at it, but I also got more critical. You know, I was like, oh, that's not as good. We can make that better. So I spend more time critiquing, and the result is better content week by week, but it still takes roughly the same amount of time. And I 100% see how creators who are putting out content on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok drop out of college. Mm-hmm. I 100% see why.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could work from 8 to 5 and only handle Instagram stuff.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Or just like one of, and then conquering all three is like, I'm having trouble balancing Instagram and TikTok right now, you know, producing 5-6 pieces of content per day, you know, so we're still working through that, trying to find the schedule. But I'm just taking it 1 week at a time and we're rolling.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly how you should do it. You know, I think that, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, I just we're restarting everything and everything's going back to what it was, or I mean, what my 2 cents is kind of out the door now. I mean, I'm not necessarily like just turning my back from it, because that's obviously what started everything. But you know, the other day I went on the podcast channel and I just kind of removed everything that my 2 cents was on there, just because right now what the lunch hour is going to be like completely different than what my 2 cents was. I mean, there's going to be, I mean, when I put out that video last week, and I had the main thing that people noticed when they would talk to me about it was just how the quality it was, how much it improved.
Right.
And like I said, I was running around trying to find cameras and tripods and microphones and all that stuff, putting a lot of time and money into doing it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that day, I mean, me and my editor spent one day and we were just running all over town trying to find everything we needed. And we were in the car for probably like 5 to 6 hours, just going from like, we went to 3 different Walmarts, went to 2 Best Buys, went to Walgreens, went to Target. I mean, we were all over the place.
Just searching.
And like during that day, I was just incredibly frustrated. I was like, I cannot find a damn thing in this store like that I needed. And at the end of the day, I ended up getting everything. And once I got home and I did the video, and then like once I finished the video, I was like, I looked back on what happened that day and I just laughed at myself.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I literally went through all of that to put out a 15-minute video.
Oh, yeah.
And like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, why would you do all of that? And like, because first off, I mean, it's fun. I mean, and you look back on it and you just laugh and you're like, well, now we know not to ever do that again. Yeah. And we know that we need to, first off, I wasn't even like thinking about what to get, because there was so much stuff that I needed. And like this dock right here that's plugged into my computer, I had one originally and it only had like a USB port and HDMI port. And then when I was trying to figure out how to export footage from my camera onto my computer, and that alone took me probably like an hour to figure that out. Yeah. Like I was like watching YouTube videos and Googling, and then I had like 3 different apps linked with my camera, and I still couldn't get them all. And I was like, how am I going to get this video out if I can't even get the camera footage onto my on my computer? And then I just went around town even more, and I just found the simplest way to just get a dock that has a SIM card reader, and now just got one of those, and now we're good. So now we're good. Yeah. But so if I haven't asked you already, but what kind of made you want to get into that state and kind of start, you know, the journey and the prepping? And because that's a lot of work. Me personally, I tried meal prepping, and like, it just like, I don't hate on people who like, I know you do it and that's amazing. But like with me, like I just couldn't ever try to do that. I mean, I tried, and I was like eating like 96 lean ground beef with rice. And I was doing it like for like every day. And I was like, that is just like, I just couldn't do it. Like,
well, the biggest thing with me was the first like 3 weeks of my bodybuilding prep sucked because I did not know how to cook at all. So all the food was burned. The chicken was dry. The rice was a little soggy because I had cooked it for too long, and it was just a struggle. But I was cooking my own food every single week, so I had to get better. And now I'm at the point now where I'm not Gordon Ramsay over here, but I can cook something that tastes good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just been kind of like it's weird because whenever your focus is dialed in on a goal and you have a passion and you kind of just get that a little bit of tunnel vision, it's incredible what becomes important and what becomes just an afterthought.
Yeah.
Because if you had asked me 6 months ago, 8 months ago, JC, you're going to have every meal that you eat every single day counted to a calorie. I would look at you and said, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
I'm just here for fitness. I'm just here to be better or whatever. But now that I've got this, this drive to do this fitness influencer, if I'm going to do it, a faster way for me to do it is to be in impeccable shape. And that's just something where now it's not even a struggle. Now it's just something that's boosting me. And, every week I look, I'm getting leaner or I'm getting stronger, I'm getting whatever. And it's all part of the process and it's just fuel to the fire. And I'm sure you've seen that because I'm sure if you had asked you before you had started the initial podcast, like, a bunch of information, but you need to research microphones and cameras. You would have looked at it and be like, I don't care.
No, I probably wouldn't have even thought about it because I just it just sounded like almost like just like it was too much work at the time. Because, if I would have told my, 14, 13-year-old self, like, oh, you better wise up now because you're going to be doing all this, a lot in the future. And he was like, I don't know, probably not.
No, definitely not. Sorry.
Got other things that I want to try. And that was the thing. Like when I was younger, I just had when we were younger, a lot of us kids, we just go through phases and things that we want to do and everything. But like with me, it was like at a drastic amount. I was like 1 week, I was like, oh, this sounds cool. Next week, whatever, something else. And it took me a long time to finally figure it out. And I always knew that I was good with talking with people. My mom used to tell me all the time, he was like, if I put you in front of a brick wall, you could probably start a conversation with it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just starting to use that more.
Yeah.
And just to, network and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's eventually becomes more pleasure than work.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing that is not taught is because I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and he talked about how there's 2 routes that you can take in life. You can take the safe route, which, is guaranteed money, whether that be a doctor or a lawyer, or whether it just be getting a degree and getting a 9 to 5. It's a safe path, and there's nothing wrong with it. But 9 times out of 10, you end up miserable.
Leaves you in quiet desperation.
There we go.
I know it well.
There we go.
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Because, and once I listened to that, I was like, man, that's incredibly true because you become a slave to money. Because
you work for just the check.
Yeah. Because
that's literally the definition of working check to check.
Like if you are only there to get money, then if someone controls your money, they control you.
Right.
They can control your happiness. They can control how much time you spend with your family. And if you have just a little bit of guts, just to say, you know what, I love X, or I love this, and then just find a connection between that and money, and then just don't look back.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah.
And then worst comes to worst, if you're dead broke, you're dead broke doing what you love.
Right. Yeah. And then that right there is going to get people like, because a lot of people, they want to work. They just want the money. And
right.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
No.
I think that, obviously we need money to live and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But I think that is very important. And a lot of people don't feel another quote from Rogan, he was like, a lot of people don't really go down the path that they feel pulled to.
Right.
They go what they think they should do or what's politically correct or what is the
Normal.
trend, or what's normal, what people are supposed to do. And me personally, I told my mom this. I was like, if I like have to work a 9-to-5 job, I'm gonna like torture myself slowly. We'll just keep the audio going right now.
Okay.
We'll just keep torturing myself and just feeling like shit all the time. And and I was like, that's why I'm trying to step out of the norm and do something a little different than what other people are doing. And I think that alone can influence other people to do the same thing. And I think that's kind of another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's just to reach a certain number of people or audience or whatever, and just kind of tell them like, you can do what you want. You don't have to, go to law school for another 4 years if that's not what you want to do, or go to med school for another 8 years if that's what you want. That's what you want to do. Like my grandfather was in school, including his undergraduate, for like 14 years.
Okay.
And when he told me that, I was just like, that is ridiculous.
So like your life starts at like 35.
Yeah, right. And that's getting out of med school, and you get into the hospital, and you're still not making the kind of money that you want to.
Yeah. And
so when he told me that, I was just like, why would you just spend that? And he was like, because I love operating on people. And so that also taught me a lot about him as well. It's because he really enjoyed, it banked off my dad, because now my dad is like, he used to, I was doing like human A&P class in high school, and I was like, he would always ask me, oh, I can do that for you, or I can help you out with your homework, because he knows like everything about that. And he was like, the body it fascinates me for some reason. And so, and that alone is like how can people be fascinated by like bones and muscles and stuff? So it's crazy what people can be drawn to, and it's crazy what people can do with that, with what they do, with what they feel pulled to.
Yeah. And it's so cool how I was actually talking to my cousin about this like last week. It's so cool how individual people can have so very different interests, but can be so polar opposite from the outside. So like if you look at someone who takes, school and just being as smart and as educated as they possibly can, and then you look at someone who, wants to be a professional athlete, from the other's perspective, they would be considered lazy. Mm-hmm. Because the professional athlete would look at the person who's wanting to be extremely educated and say, you know what, man, you don't spend as much time on your body. You're eating whatever you want. Like you don't care. And then the educated person would say, no, you're lazy. You don't study. You don't care about all this. But they're both extremely hardworking people, and they're going to be at the top of their fields, whatever it is. And I think it's so cool how you can be at the top of your game and you can strive to be the best, but the world that we live in crushes it and subdues it because it's different. I think that's just, I think it's wrong, but I think it's very cool at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that also that if you do enough work with what it is you want to do, then you can do it.
Right.
Because people kind of look at things that they're doing and they're like, oh, that sounds like that's a little out of proportion to do.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, that it doesn't. If it seems a little out of proportion, then that I think it's still attainable.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, they're somewhat scared to make that jump and kind of do what they want, because they would be scared of how people would react to that, and how like society would look at you and say, oh, well, he's not really doing, he's not, going to come to med school with us or whatever. That's weird. Mm-hmm. And like what we were talking about earlier with you, like that, like with you, what you're doing, that's, that's big, because
bit of a 180.
Yeah, exactly. Because with, most of our peers that we know, they're all going to be doing the same stuff, like, school or, doctors or whatever. And like I said, if that's what they want to do, then that's fine. I'm not going to be the one to tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't go to med school, or maybe you shouldn't, go to that dental school. I'm not going to tell you to do that. If that's what you want to do, then do it. But if on one hand, if you're like, but I think if you have like even a sliver of a second thought of doing something, I think that can completely change. I watched a video about this guy. He goes, I was doing the same job, and every day I walked into that building, I was only 99% happy with my life. He goes, one day I walked in there and I was still only 99% happy. And he goes, that 1%, he goes, I literally, I quit my job, and I think he started to become like a speaker or whatever. But it's crazy how just like a sliver of a percentage should, I mean, for me, I think that you should really pay attention with that. And I think that if you just have like a shy of a doubt that you don't feel comfortable with doing this, then I think you should totally change it, because I learned that just based off of personal experience.
Yeah. My thing, I actually wanted to, whenever you reached out to me about doing this, I wanted to get your take on this, and I wanted to know if you had experienced this in any way. So I'm a huge Jordan Peterson fan. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've watched any of his content.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And he talks about the power of words and how powerful your mind is in creating your own future. And he talks about like the difference between I wish, I want, it'd be great if, and I will. And I thought that was a really interesting take, because I'm sitting with someone who like is making that leap of faith with me, in a completely different realm. But what he talks about is, if you say like, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? Let's just say that's the goal. If you say I want to lose 10 pounds, or I wish I could lose 10 pounds, or it'd be great if I lost 10 pounds, and you don't lose 10 pounds, it's no sweat, because it was just a wish. It was a want. But if you say I will lose 10 pounds, if I say I will do something, your first question is how? And the reason why that distinction is so different is because I will implies the need for a plan. Because if you say I will, how? Then you have to present a plan. And if you can present a plan, then you can get there. And that's one of the biggest things. So whenever people ask me, what are you going to do? I will be a fitness influencer.
Right.
I will be a successful fitness influencer, instead of saying, I want to be. And I didn't know if you had any take on that, or if you had heard of that.
I definitely think that the I will term is like a massive, like, I think it's a more powerful statement than people might think.
Yeah.
Because, everyone always says, oh, I should have done that, or should have done that. And so Tony Robbins, you probably know who that is. He talked about turning shoulds into musts. He's like, all right, well, I should go to the gym. He's like, I must go to the gym.
Yeah.
Because I should lose weight. I must lose weight. I think there's the power of the power of words. I think that's because, that's incredibly important, and something that a lot of people don't really think about in terms of just a simple statement, like a I will statement. And you do that. And if you say, all right, I will do this today, and then you go and do it, and you go, oh, okay, I told myself I was going to do it, and I did. And that's defining and limiting about that. That's just, that's kind of,
and it's motivating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're making progress.
Yeah.
Like I said I was going to do it. I did it. Awesome. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, and when you look, like, when I have like a good day, like I really, like, I try to enjoy it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I think rewarding yourself also is pretty important. I think like, when you have work for a good day, and you come home and you're like, what I do when I come home, I sit in my chair, I turn on a game, whatever, like, and I just look back, I'm like, I actually did something today.
Yeah.
And even if it's something just as little as, waking up an hour earlier than the normal time you wake up, or, going to the gym when you normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
And you're like, even if it's just, it's obviously things aren't going to change at a fast rate. It's all about small and being patient, and, pause when agitated, and to just be patient. And I think that the whole power of words thing is something that people should take on in their lives, because if you just say I will, then I think that alone can really get you going, and can really get to a point where you want to be.
Yeah, I think the rewarding yourself part is huge. And honestly, that's something that I've struggled with, you know, because there was a lot of pressure growing up to not be lazy. Like that was just a recurring theme in the Polk household was don't be lazy, don't be lazy, don't be lazy. So I grew up with kind of like this shadow just right here. It's like, oh, you took 5 minutes playing on your phone. You could have done this. You know, like this is pressure to go and do. But I've kind of had to step back and say, you know what? We've had a really strict week. You know, like we've been perfect on our diet. We haven't skipped the gym. We're 5-6 videos ahead of what we would need. You know what? Let's go. You know, let's call a buddy over. It'll be okay. You know, and that was one of the biggest mental barriers I had to break through was giving myself time to relax. Because I didn't have it. And, you know, that's good because I'm extremely productive. Yeah. But it's also a recipe for just building up and then exploding, you know, and going completely off diet or completely off, you know, the fitness and routine and my routine that I'm staying on now. So I think just little bits of just little dopamine, you know, little bits here and there, kind of keep that balance.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, like, kind of what's your end goal, or like what's your motivation that really goes like, oh, okay, I got to put out a specific amount of videos today, and like you keep doing it because you think about this one thing, like, oh, if I keep doing this, this is going to happen, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. So the end. Well, I'll tell you a short-term goal, and then I'll tell you the end goal. So I was talking to my sister Hannah, like a week ago. And my original goal that I'd set for myself was to have 2,000 followers by Christmas. That was the goal I set whenever I first started the podcast or the fitness channel in beginning of August. And right now I'm sitting at 1,800. And Hannah texted me. She said, you know, you need a new goal. And you're gonna hit 2,000 probably next week. And I was like, yeah. So I told her, and my goal is I will hit 30,000 by the time Christmas comes around. And she sent me the emoji of like the big eyes and was like, she was like, okay, get going.
That's big.
You know, and my philosophy is if you shoot for the stars, worst comes to worst, you land on the moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Yeah. So like if I bust my butt and I get 20,000, I'm at 20,000 by Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good day.
That's a huge step.
It's a good day,
now,
you know?
Right.
But yeah, I'm going to put everything I have to get 30,000 by Christmas. But the long-term goal is to get to a point where I'm posting 3 times a day on TikTok, 2 to 3 times a day on Instagram, and then eventually move to YouTube and start a YouTube channel, because it's kind of the plan, because I want to structure all of my social medias to where if you want to go to a different one, it offers a different side of me. So the TikTok, like, you know, TikTok's kind of stupid. It's kind of fun. Like, you know,
I love it.
Oh, yeah, really it's awesome. Do. But like, I'll do the voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I have fun with it. And, you know, I can put like a fitness spin on it or whatever. So I'll do that. And then I'll provide a little bit of informational. And then the Instagram stuff, I would like to be mostly workouts. And then the YouTube, I can address deeper topics and kind of dive into more stuff like this. That way, if you want to see a different side of me, all you have to do is click on a different app. Right. And then hopefully the following builds to a point where it's supporting me, you know, financially. The lights are on and the bills are paid. I would like to spend some time in LA, whether it's...
You and me both.
Yeah. Whether, you know, it's 6 months, whether it's 5 years, I don't know. But it's definitely a goal of mine. I actually have a typed out plan on my computer of 10 steps. How to get there. And I won't divulge it, but we have a plan, and it's in the works now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I took a lot out of your message today. I think that was great, and I think a lot of people, when they go listen to this, they're going to really learn a lot from you. But I appreciate you for coming on. It was fun, and we'll definitely do it again soon.
Dude, I had an absolute blast. Thank you for the invite, brother.
Thank y'all. We will see y'all next week.